Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of Survivor Strong, the podcast where we talk all things related to child sexual abuse, incest, and trauma. I'm your host, Yvonne Sandomir. Thank you so much for joining me live tonight, right here on Fireside, as well as Facebook. We're live over there as well. You can be a part of the conversation as my virtual audience at any time. And as a reminder, you can jump in and ask questions and just request to come on stage, or you can just send us a message too if you prefer. We were supposed to have a guest tonight, but unfortunately she needed to reschedule. So I thought that I would take this opportunity to talk about something that's called the Locust of Control, and also acceptance of thoughts and emotions. Now, feel free to jump in anytime. Hi, Judy. I see you're there. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. So again, feel free. So let's start with the locus of control. Now, there are 3 levels of influence in our lives. We have controlled, which is what we control, what we're able to control in our lives. We have, outside of that, is the influence, and that's things that we can influence. And then the last part of this is something that we call concern, which basically means that these are all things that shouldn't be a concern of yours because they're all out of your control. And so I wanted to start with that because I think it's really important to understand, what this is. So what is it? And how can I use it? So think about this. When we try to create a new story for ourselves, we say there are things that we want to make changes in our lives. One of the most important things to focus on is the things that we absolutely can control. Because, too often I think we waste time and energy on things that are really outside of our control. And when we really could be spending that time on creating our new story, the story that we want to create for our lives. In fact, I think this is why many people never really create their new story and they get stuck in these patterns because they are too focused on trying to change the wrong things, really. So, what we need to do is we need to direct our focus on the things that we can control, things that are within our circle of control. And like I mentioned before, there are 3 levels of influence in our lives, okay? Number 1, the things that you directly control. 2, things you can influence. And 3, things that you have no control and influence. And it's important to recognize that our perception of what we can control strongly influences what we do and what we feel and how we feel about situations in our life. The perception of how much control you have in your life is called the locus of control. A person who has a predominantly internal locus of control believes that they can or should be able to influence all of the things, all of the events and outcomes in their life. On the other hand, someone who has a predominantly external locus of control tends to blame the outside world for nearly all things that happen in their life. Now, being on the extreme end of either of these tendencies can have a negative impact on your life, as you can imagine. For example, someone with a high internal locus of control, they tend to blame themselves and beat themselves up when something doesn't go their way, even if they had no control over the outcome at all. It's important to recognize that there are things that we do not have control over. Some things we just can't control. Someone with a high external locus of control tends not to take responsibility for anything, blaming everyone else in their life for things that are clearly within their control. They don't take control of their life because they don't think that they have the power to make the difference. And people with a balanced locus of control have a realistic view of what they do have power over and what they don't. Now, you may think there are a lot of things that are out of your control, and you are right. There are a lot of things that are out of our control. But believe it or not, there are a surprising number of things that we and you can control. So let's talk about that for a second. So what are some things you do have control over right now at any point in your day, any point? You have control over how much effort you put into something. You have control over how many times you smile, say thank you, or show appreciation in a day. You have control over how well you prepare for something, whether it's a test or, trying a new recipe. You have control over how you react to emotion. And this is a big one. Because a lot of times, and this is kind of one of those distorted belief systems that we have, is we have a tendency to say when we're in an argument with someone, you made me feel this way. You made me feel that way. Well, you and only you can control how you react to an emotion. No one can make you feel anything that you don't want to feel. Now, I say that, but I will say with this caveat, I guess, that we could say, if you're standing someone and someone is repeatedly stepping on your toe, clearly that person is causing you discomfort. They're causing you pain. I'm talking about someone says something that we don't like. You know, we have a choice to be offended by it or just say, oh, okay, that's your opinion. You know, thanks for sharing. Move on. Have a nice day. You know, smile and keep on going. But you also have control over what you focus your attention on. You can control what you focus your attention on and what you focus on, as well as how you interpret a situation. That's completely on you. The way that you see a situation or perceive a situation doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way that it is. But a lot of times we see things from our own lens, and, you know, we want to think that it's right because that's the way that we view it. But sometimes you have to take a step back and outside of a situation to really interpret all aspects of that situation. You have to be able to put yourself in the other person's shoes, but you have the control to do that, to, you know, interpret a situation any way that you choose. You know, another thing is you have control over what you commit to doing or not doing. If you really want to start that new hobby, start gardening or singing or playing piano or whatever it is, it's up to you, and you only and you alone control how committed you are to doing that. You know, you have the choice and you have control over what conversations you have and who and what you engage in. I know a lot of times people have conversations with people out of guilt, feeling, well, they called, so I have to pick up, or, you know, they're making an effort because they called. And the reality is that if you're not ready for any particular conversation, you don't have to have that conversation with anyone. And you don't have to engage with anyone that you don't want to. Another thing that's really important is to focus on the present moment. And that is something that you control. You can control how present you are at any given moment. You know, you are responsible and control what you tell yourself and how nice you are to you. You have to be nice to yourself and honor yourself. And you have the control and the power to do that. You can control how you take care of your body, how many new things you're exposed to, what you do in your free time, whom you spend your time with and who your friends are, what information you consume, courses you read, or media that you listen to or watch. You can control when to ask for help, because only you know when you need help and when it's time to ask for help. but you have the control to do that. You have the control whether you make plans and act on them. I say this, everybody's entitled to change their mind. If I agree to do something, I do like to try to stay true to my commitments. However, if I wake up on that particular day and I just don't feel my best and I don't feel like I can, really be in the situation and be comfortable, then you know what? I might have to reschedule or, just not go to that particular event. And you have that same power. You have that same control. And the last two things is, how much you believe what other people say. You can control what you believe. No one can put that on you. And this last one is I think it's the most important one right now. It's how long it will take you to try again when you fail. That is something that you can control. Because we all know, just because we fail doesn't mean that we have to give up. It means that, okay, we try again, right? Isn't that what we grew up thinking, or hearing, try again, right? But, this is just a small example of things that you can control. But notice that all of these things are directly related to you. Yes, you. Your actions, your thoughts, your emotions, beliefs, and choices are what are within your circle of control. So think about this before we move on to the next thing. What are things that you do have control over that you would want to change and take charge of? I want you to think about that question for a minute. And if you have to, write down your answer. Or if you would like to save it for later and come on stage and join me and discuss it, we can do that too. The other thing that I want you to think about is, how will taking control help you create your story? How will taking control help you create your story? Because it has to start somewhere, right? So the next level that I talked about there was influence. So influence. So the next one is, things that you can influence. And what that means is, outside of your immediate circle of control that we just discussed, the next level is your sphere of influence. Our influence and perceived influence is critical to our well-being. In fact, researchers have even been able to show that the more influential you feel you are, the greater your happiness and well-being. I mean, think about that for a second. We all feel better when we're in control of things, when we can influence what's going on around us. Most of us panic when we're out of control. Most of us, the ones that don't like to fly because it's out of their control. They're just sitting in the jet, just flying across the sky. But it's critical to our well-being. So this is because feeling that we influence others gives us a sense of purpose, believe it or not. Gives us a sense of meaning and, again, control. Notice that influence is different than control, though. And this is important. Influence does not mean that you're going to go around telling people what to do or making them do something. That doesn't lead to happiness. And actually, the truth is, you can't make people do anything. And most of us know that, right? But there are two ways that you can increase your level of happiness when it comes to influence. The first thing that you can do is increase your influence on others around you. And so how can you do this? You might be saying, well, Yvonne, you just told me I can't do that. What do you mean? And what I mean is this type of influence that we're talking about here is it's being a leader in our inner circle, meaning leading by example, essentially. When we follow our dreams, stand up for what we believe in, and we grow, we empower others around us to do the same thing. It is about living in the reality that if you can change your behavior or attitude, other people tend to notice and are affected by those changes, whether they want to or not. Number 2 is increasing your awareness of how you currently influence those around you. Now, when you acknowledge the positive impact you are having on others, it will boost your confidence naturally. Influence is a normal part of human nature. It's up to you to decide in what ways you are influenced by others and whether you are a good influence on those around you. The sphere of influence goes both ways because the people that you may have influence over also influence you. So choose who you are around wisely and be aware of the impact that you have on others, because you do have an impact on others. Does anyone have any questions pertaining to this before I move on to the next topic of acceptance? Not yet? Okay, I don't see any notifications popping up, but if I see you, I'll come back to you. So now that we've talked about the locus of control and the things that we can control around us, I want to talk about something else that's really important, which is acceptance. I mean, honestly, really the first step on any journey, right, is to accept your thoughts and emotions about that and accepting them as they are and not trying to change them. Because the fact is, it is 100% normal to have negative, self-deprecating, limited, or even scary thoughts. That's normal for all of us. Once a thought is focused on long enough, the problem is that it starts to pull additional similar thoughts from your memory, as well as see more and more of what you're thinking about around you. Think about, a friend gets a new car and you're thinking about that new car, and now all of a sudden you never see that car anywhere, and now everywhere you talk, well, there's that car that my friend just bought, because you're just thinking about it and you're just noticing it. It's not that it didn't exist before, it's just that you just didn't notice it as much before as you do now. And this momentum can really leave you feeling like your train of thinking is going out of control, right? Because when you're thinking about something and then you have additional thoughts coming in, it's like they just kind of compound on top of each other, unfortunately. And that's how people become so overwhelmed. It's also important to know that it is 100% normal to have an emotional reaction to something, especially if it's scary or hurtful. A lot of times we may hear, oh, don't cry over that, or no need to be upset over this, no need to be upset over that. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's 100% normal to have an emotional reaction to those things, especially if it's scary or hurtful. But I have to tell you, it is also normal to have a knee-jerk reaction that feels irrational or illogical. Sometimes we just don't know why we feel the way that we do. It's not because there's something wrong with us. It's because the brain is trying to protect us. And so we will make knee-jerk responses to things. And these are the things that you can think about where, after you've had a chance to settle down, you're like, oh man, I kind of did overreact to that a little bit. I'm sure we all have those situations where we can sit back and say, oh, I think I overreacted to that a little bit, right? I think we all do. But that's normal. It's normal to overreact sometimes, and it's normal to have that knee-jerk emotional response to something that is shocking, surprising, or just scary for that matter. So, it's really just important to remember that you're normal. You're normal. And all emotions and thoughts eventually will pass. I know that's hard to wrap your mind around sometimes, right? All emotions and thoughts will eventually pass, and we think about these emotions and thoughts that have really been holding us back, for many years, whether it be because of our own self-sabotage behavior or anything. Just know that it's normal and that this will pass eventually. And it's just really important to remember that. And the reason this is so important is because if you resist it, if you judge yourself for your thoughts and emotions, if you push against them and add another layer of negative thoughts and emotions on top of it, you only make it worse. And these things keep compounding and compounding. And again, this is how we become overwhelmed. So, what can I do? That might be your question, right? What can I do about that? So how do I fix that? What do I do? So think of it this way. Instead of judging your thoughts or emotions or anything, simply observe them, notice them, allow them to be there. Be curious about it. Rather than judging, be gentle with yourself, because you're allowed to have all of those thoughts and emotions that you have. And even if it's a difficult emotion, allow yourself to just notice it. Notice that it's there, honor it, think about it, because only then processing it can you move past it. So, then what? You're saying, then what? I've thought about it. I've done that. Now what? I'm not judging myself. Now what? So, because you've let go of resistance, even if it was just for a moment, you may find yourself beginning to think more clearly. In that moment, remind yourself that you're normal. Everything is okay. And this too shall pass, because it will. It will. And so, again, why is this important? Well, the answer to that is so that you can develop your ability to control your negative thoughts more of the time. That's the goal, is to be able to control these negative thoughts more often than not. Instead of beating yourself up for these negative thoughts and emotions, celebrate every time you notice that it's happening. Celebrate that although you don't feel in control, you are committed to learning more about your mind and practicing techniques that will help you continue to get better. And you'll just keep getting better and better at it. Understand that no one is perfect, and you'll always have negative thoughts and emotions. But you're learning how to not take them so personally or so seriously. You will be able to find clarity and peace even in the most challenging moments. And then one day you'll look back and think, wow, this would this would have made me freak out in the past, but now I know I have a choice how I react. And now I'm not going to freak out. Now, when I have a strong reaction, I'm going to notice it, breathe through it, leave the room if we need to, find a place just for you that you can just sit and be with your thoughts. And you'll just find that with time, you're just going to get better and better and better because you can do this. That's the most important thing is you can do this. And I want you to be patient with yourself and accept that you were gifted with a wonderful, powerful machine called the human mind. It's quirky, sure, and it can get its wires crossed from time to time, as we all know, but now you have the manual. Now you know that you can continue to reprogram your life and your thoughts and your emotions so that you can use it to reprogram your life. So when you reprogram your thoughts and emotions, you reprogram your life. And so, Judy, it's so nice to see you. I'm going to invite you here, see if you want to join us and have anything to add. And if not, that's quite all right. Oh, hi, Judy. Yay.
Hi, Yvonne. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. It's so good to see you and to hear your voice. How have you been?
Good. We were on vacation. We just got back Saturday night and it had a wonderful time. I miss my grandbabies, but it feels good to be home too.
Oh, good. I know, but having that time with those littles, I'm sure was just uh,
It was
amazing.
wonderful.
How old are they?
4 and a year and a half.
Oh, both ages are such fun ages for different reasons,
They
you
really
know?
are.
Oh my gosh, your little 1-year-old, he or she must be exploring things and discovering things and walking probably.
Yeah, they both have their own cute little personalities.
Oh, I
So,
love it. I love it. Well,
yeah.
congratulations on having that time with them.
Well, thank you. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that time. I just want to
Yeah.
say thank you for your informative session today because it really was something that has been going on with me and just the
Hmm.
overthinking and dwelling too much a little bit and um, telling myself that I need to react to different situations in different ways. So thank you for this
Oh,
session.
you're
It's very good.
welcome. Do you want to talk about it? You want to talk about it a little bit? You don't
Um,
have to. I don't want you to feel pressured.
yeah, no, not necessarily. It's just a bunch of little things, feeling overwhelmed. You touch base on that, and just sometimes when we get a little bit too busy. But no, it's very informative.
Good.
So thank you, Yvonne, for choosing that topic today.
You're welcome. And now that I know that it speaks to you, this was just a small glimpse into that topic and how it can really impact your life. So I'll keep doing little sessions and segments like this that come with pen and paper because I can give you lots of tips that you can write down, or of course you can just watch this again if you feel inclined to do so.
That would be great.
Yeah, but I'm glad that you found it helpful and informative. Were there any questions that I could answer for you in particular about it?
No, not necessarily. I think you covered it pretty well. At least for me, you did.
Okay.
So,
Okay, good. Well, wonderful. Well, I'm not seeing anyone else here popping up uh, to join us. So since I have you, Judy, I have 20 minutes here. Is there anything on your heart and mind that you wanted to talk about tonight?
I guess I kind of like the idea of what you said, that we can choose. It gave me strength that we can choose how we react, and that we can even leave the room. And thank you for because sometimes people will talk and might feel a little bit like we're being berated or something like that, or talked down to. But just you kind of, when you said that we have that choice, it gives so much power to
Oh,
me anyway, that I
absolutely. Oh,
have the choice how I
absolutely.
react. So
Yes,
I like
and
that.
and you do not have to put up with being disrespected,
No, none of
berated,
us.
talked
Yes.
down to. That if someone is not talking to you the way that you think that you should be spoken to, then you have that choice to leave the room. You don't have to just sit there and take it. And I think that's a really powerful thing for people to recognize, that they control that, right? Because think about, a
Right.
lot of people feel they're out of control in that situation because they have this person talking at them. They don't want to talk, and they might feel, kind of like they're standing over them, even if they're not standing over them. And, so it's a really important lesson for people to understand, is that yes, you can control those interactions, and walk away at any point in time, whenever it's right for you.
Right, because a lot of us, we never had that permission. So when someone else gives us that permission, that we have choices, that it's in our power how we react,
Mm-hmm.
it's as simple as it sounds. It's like, wow, it's an epiphany. I can do that because
Right.
as children, as children, a lot of us didn't have the permission to do that.
That's right. That's sad, but it's very true. A lot of us, a lot of our choices were taken away from us as kids,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
we just never figured out how to take that power back. And now it's time to take that power back and know that you have the power to do so, and that you can control those things. And yeah, so I'm glad that spoke to you, and that really meant something to you,
I
because
think
it's
I think
important.
it is important, and I think your entire session will speak to other people like me too. And again, I'm repeating myself, but it is an epiphany, because it's like, wow, I can actually do that. It's up to
Mm-hmm.
me. It's in my
Mm-hmm.
power. Because by
Right.
having that, knowing that we have that power is power.
Right. It's like an unlocked superpower, right?
Yes,
Superpower
yes,
unlocked. I have control to walk out of a room.
that's
You
right.
know?
Exactly.
Oh, well, Judy, I'm so glad that you joined me tonight and that you found this to be informative. Um, unless you have anything else that you want to discuss, I'm going to close the show for tonight. This is kind of a short show tonight, only 40 minutes long. Um, but I'll only do that if you're complete, Judy, and that you don't have anything else to say.
No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Of course, of course. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining me tonight. As a reminder, we will be back in 2 weeks on Wednesday, August 3rd at 7 p.m. right here live on Fireside. And of course, we'll be simulcasting over on Facebook as well. Thank you all for listening to episode 11 of Survivor Strong. And remember, you got this. We are all in this together. Until next time. Have a great night.